So I thought I'd start with a quote. When children feel capable, they feel confident, and confidence is the cornerstone of communication, self expression, and emotional growth. So, guess who said that, Dr. Jenna?
I feel like it was you.
It was me! It was me. I said that because I feel that when we work with families, with children, with teens, even with adults, one of the challenges is they're not confident. They're
Mhm.
overly dependent on others. And as a result, it's almost like the car stops. It can't move forward because they need that confidence to move forward. And
Mhm.
one of the hallmarks of confidence is independence. To be able to be independent emotionally, to be independent communicatively, to be independent socially, to be an independent person so that that will foster their confidence, which leads to fuel for communication progression. So I thought that quote was important because of that philosophy of need my kid to talk philosophy. If you have a child that is overly dependent and not independent and really struggles with that sense of self, the sense of self, it's going to be tough, right? So tell us. I
Mhm.
mean, you see this at the office all the time.
Yeah. I think that, a big component that we're also finding is for some of our little ones, I know we were talking about maybe having two parts. Like today, we're going to be focusing more on elementary school and younger children. But we also see this even with our teens and young adults. But when we think about like our elementary school kids, it's so hard to foster sometimes like that independence when for so much of their life, especially for like, think about like our 5-year-olds, 2.5 years out of their 5 years, they were so dependent on their parents because of COVID. So it's an interesting dynamic now that we're seeing where that's a whole other topic. But I do think that I'm noticing a big shift of dependency, but also because of the fact that that was such a huge piece for them that they didn't have a lot of that exposure to maybe some of the other individuals. So then their independence is even more kind of, I guess, taken away because they're so dependent on the one or two people that have kind of developed everything for them. So I definitely think that's been a huge piece is just building, like you said, that confidence because before we can even, build any type of independence, we need to have our head up. We need to trust that we can take that next step. And I think that's a really important key that, like you said, so many people assume that the first step is just giving them an opportunity. Oh, pass that to the waiter. But if they're not even able to feel that confidence and kind of put their head up and know that they can do it, they're not going to be able to feel successful.
And there'll be more avoidant and anxiety is reinforced. So it really is about meeting them where they're at. Also, think about it communication. That is such a critical part of life. And so, our kids don't just struggle with words, many of them struggle non-verbally. They
Mhm.
struggle to engage socially, they struggle with going to a friend's house, they
Right.
struggle with being able to do things on their own, to be able to go to a party without their parent, to be dependent on a sibling. And so,
Hmm.
we see a lot of this.
Yeah.
And communication is such the hallmark of life. And
Hmm.
therefore, it's so easy for a child or a teen to be dependent because, as a parent, and I'm a parent, you're not a parent yet that I'm aware of, but as a parent, you don't want your children to struggle and suffer. You want to do whatever you can to help them. And a lot of times, what you do as a parent is you rescue them. You do it for them. You should do this, like you should do that, or do say this or say that. And our children end up being the passenger in the car rather than the driver in the car.
Hmm.
And we have to teach skills, teach parents how to support their children to help them become independent. Because it's not like, well, you need to know what to say to that person, or you need to go to that birthday party because everyone's going to go to that birthday party, or you know what, don't wear that outfit, wear this outfit. And we're very, very directorial because if that's, is that a word, directorial?
I think we're just very direct with our approach.
No, I'm being funny, but we're very much guiding them to help save them in many ways because they either can't do it, and we want to, support them so they don't feel pain and discomfort. But what we're doing is we're literally creating that passenger in the car situation where eventually, even at all, they can't do things on their own well with confidence because they're so dependent on others, telling them what to do, how to say it, what to say, but just their everyday life. And so and this isn't just for SM. I mean, this is just for children in general. And I think you brought up a great point with COVID. I mean, our kids weren't even around people for so long. And when they were, it's be careful, don't get near them. And they had masks. So reading facial cues, all of that is definitely an issue. And for certain age ranges, it's even more. You know what else is a challenge is technology. And we're not going to get into it, but the
Yeah.
use and dependence on technology doesn't even foster social engagement. You're
Yeah.
not putting together with peers as much. You're not making as much eye contact because you're too busy on your device.
Mm-hmm.
So we're seeing technology as an aid in many ways, but also a way to hinder and hide behind and become very dependent.
Mm-hmm.
It
Yeah.
can be a step and there's values to it. And we
Mhm.
definitely can do another podcast on the value of technology. But I think it's important that we educate parents during this podcast on some simple ways to really help build that independence. Because we're all about treating the person and understanding who they are rather than this is what you need to do to get them to talk, because it isn't that.
Mhm.
Anyone that can say it's all about talking really doesn't understand this population. It's just not, because how will the children know how to engage, what to say, where to say it, how to start a conversation, initiate, expand, if they're not confident? And so
Right.
we have to help kind of meet them where they're at and build them up where they're at to be able to move forward to become a more confident social communicator. And taking into account their whys, because some
Mhm.
children aren't going to be as verbally expressive and initiative as others and may have other challenges getting in the way, and there are many. So we can help them reach their capacity. So you ready,
Exactly.
Dr. Jenna, to dive into some 6 great ways to help foster independence for elementary age children, knowing we're going to have an episode on teens?
Yes.
You
Definitely.
ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
What's the first one we want to talk about?
So I think the first one that we both kind of thought was really important is this idea of encouraging decision making. And I know that actually, I believe we talked about this a little bit in our parenting podcast that we talked about, because I know that just in general, offering decision making is so crucial for a child. But I do believe that this is such an important key to foster independence, because many times, like we've been mentioning, our kids feel lost. They don't know where to turn. They don't know the next step. And many times we even find that anytime you ask them a question outside of their comfort, no matter what, they turn to their mom or dad, right? And some of you listeners are probably relating to that, not because the child can't do it, but because they're so dependent on you, and for so long you're really the only person, or maybe one of the only people that they feel really comfortable with. So actually encouraging decision making and allowing them to see that they can do it, right? And kind of providing them with options whenever possible could actually allow them to make decisions, and could allow them to build more of that independence, of course within boundaries that you set. So allowing them to kind of have some of that. But we do find that choices are really important, and for those that work with us, they know that we say that a lot, is provide a choice, not because we don't believe that our kids can't come to that conclusion, but a lot of times it actually allows them to build up that confidence that they can make their own decision, and that's on them.
So that's a great place to start. And I think we need to give some examples of ways parents can offer choices. How many listeners are listening where when you ask your child a question that they need to make a decision, they go, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know.
Hmm.
I don't know is probably one of the most common statements this population of kids makes to their family. I don't know. Is it that they don't know, or they didn't have many opportunities or enough opportunities to think through a decision? So they almost stop in that pathway. I don't know. It's like, I need you to help me make that decision. I
Hmm.
need you to make that decision for me. I don't have the confidence. I don't have the experience. I don't have the know how, or
Hmm.
not enough to be able to do it. So we have to help them. So we can start as simple as dinner time. Do you want carrots or, beans? Knowing they may like both, which do you want right now? Or do you want both? Something so simple. You have to think through, do I want carrots? Do I want beans? So these are simple ways to kind of get started. Can you give some other examples?
So yeah, so one example could be that, let's say you have a birthday party at the end of the school year, and you're super excited, but parents recognize that each time we go to our birthday party, we're not as comfortable. And so instead of just allowing that situation to happen, of course, we do set up silent goals, which we've talked about in some other podcasts where we do set up the world for our child. So, for example, like some of those decisions could already have been done. Like we might go a few minutes early, or we might go with a friend just to kind of build up that comfort. But what if we want to give our child more of a decision and we say, I know that when we go, we always feel more comfortable when we bring a stuffy. Would you rather bring your stuffy duck or do you want to bring your stuffy teddy bear? And so you're kind of giving them that option to think through that. And so they feel that autonomy, they feel that independence. And so when they go into the situation, they can feel more confident. And maybe they feel even excited to go in knowing that their friend Sally is going to see their ducky. And so that could be another way of just fostering more of that independence.
Yeah, and for some of our older elementary kids, it might be decisions such as, hey, you were running around outside. Do you want to take a shower or bath tonight?
Hmm.
Or do you want to do your homework at the dining room or the kitchen table?
Hmm.
Or,
Right.
you see what I
Yeah.
mean? Or what
Yeah.
outfit? Like we're going to a party. Which dress do you want? And
Hmm.
if the child's like, I don't know, and they're getting really frustrated, you think to yourself, well, is it because they really have a difficult time making decisions? Is it like in general, like, is there something else going on? Or is it more they just don't know and they don't maybe care? So you've got to kind of meet them where they're at and kind of think about decisions to help them kind of like have a motivation to make that decision. Do you want the red or the blue?
I think, this kind of goes a little bit into our second one, but which is going to be like fostering self-help skills. But I think that's something to think about too for families that maybe don't always know the types of choices to provide a child is because like Dr. E mentioned, especially those that are maybe older elementary school age, is even coming up with a list with your child. So that way, when you run into a situation like, oh, we have 15 minutes before bed, why don't we look at our list of some of those choices that you said that you really liked? And so we can make sure that we can do that. Rather, let's say, they wrote down 15 minutes of tablet time, 15 minutes of reading their favorite book, 15 minutes of playing with Legos, whatever it might be, but they can actually look at some of those choices and they can come up with it, with you. So that way they feel even more of part of that decision.
So, those are great thoughts. And one of the questions I would say to our listeners is what daily decisions are you making for your child that they could start making for themselves? And the easiest way to do that is think about your day and be conscious of that tomorrow and the next day and realize, hey, there's so many things I'm doing. I'm making a choice on what they're going to eat for breakfast. I'm making a choice of which shoes I'm putting out for them to wear when they could be making that decision. Most likely. Who knows? Some kids come up with real interesting outfits. But really kind of navigate that as a parent. What can they help you with? And even decisions on activities they're going to play with a sibling or help out with. Do you want to help, feed the baby, or do you want to kind of read the baby a story today? And make it very natural. It shouldn't be such a contrived thing. Just ask them opinions
Mm-hmm.
that will allow them to make a decision.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the goal for that question with our families is write down decisions that you make and that you can now begin to have your children make these decisions even if you look there's hey what do you want to eat versus do you want eggs or do you want cereal this morning. So the decisions of choices is like the easiest thing to do. The what do you want to do? What friend would you like to pick up on the way to the party? Or which stuffy do you want to bring? That open ended, thought provoking. And that's just like our communication, right? When we ask choices, it's easier because they hear the answer. It allows them to be able to make those decisions easier. So that's the assignment for question one. So what was number two? We have 6 of them. So let's start
Yeah.
with number two.